You try, you fail, you start again. It is a cycle that keeps you stuck, spinning your wheels while everyone else moves forward. You are waiting for a surge of motivation, waiting for the stars to align, or waiting for some magical day when you will finally feel ready. But let me be blunt, that day is a ghost. It is not coming. No one is going to show up to pull you out of bed or force you to chase your dreams. It is always just you versus you. If you keep waiting for the perfect moment to feel motivated, you will stay exactly where you are, trapped in your own small world, eventually dying with all your potential still locked inside you. This video isn't about empty inspiration. It is your turning point. We are going to master 12 raw psychological techniques to forge a self-motivation that doesn't crumble when life gets brutal. You are here to train your mind to be unbreakable. Technique 1. Find your pain. That is your fire. Most people think motivation is found in a pretty quote or a viral clip. That is not fuel. That is just a spark that dies in seconds. Real motivation is forged in pain. If you aren't desperate for change, if you don't feel a deep, burning hunger to be more than you are, you will never take the first step. You need to stop running from your scars and start using them as your engine. Think about a guy named Marcus. When he was 16, he stood up in class to give a presentation. His hands were shaking, his voice was thin, and the second he started, the whole room erupted in laughter. His speech was broken, his confidence was shredded, and even his teacher looked away in pity. He sat down, crushed, and didn't show his face in school for weeks. Most people would have folded right there. They would have wallowed in the shame and called it quits. But Marcus made a different choice. He stared at his reflection and vowed, "I will never let this happen again. I will become the best speaker in this region." He didn't care how hard it was. He took that humiliation and turned it into his drive. He practiced for hours alone in the mirror, dissecting every sentence, reading out loud until his voice was steady. 3 years later, that same kid stood on a massive stage, speaking with total authority, and walked off to a standing ovation. No one laughed. They were in awe. His name is irrelevant because that kid could be you. Pause for a moment. Close your eyes and ask yourself, what is my pain? What failure am I hiding from? What moment made me feel so weak that I never want to feel that way again? Find that memory. That is your fuel. Let your pain wake you up. Every morning, I want you to write this down. I will never go back to who I was. List 3 painful moments you refuse to ever repeat and say it out loud. This is why I won't quit. This is my fire. Let your pain be your reason, not your excuse. Technique 2. Decide who you want to be and become obsessed. Most people obsess over setting goals, but they completely ignore the most important part, changing their identity. And that is exactly why they fail. If you want motivation that lasts, you have to stop thinking about what you want to do and start thinking about who you want to be. You don't just want to hit the gym more often. You want to become the kind of person who is inherently healthy. You aren't just trying to wake up early. You are becoming a disciplined person. You aren't just trying to pick up a language. You are becoming a fluent speaker. Here is the cold, hard truth. You will always drift back to the person you believe you are. If you tell yourself, I am lazy, I am easily distracted, or I am just not good with consistency, then no matter how much effort you put in, you will eventually self-sabotage. Your brain will keep trying to match your behavior to that old limiting identity. But when you make a firm decision that you are a warrior, that you are disciplined, and that you are the type of person who finishes what they start, your whole world shifts. You stop acting like a person who is trying to be strong. You simply become strong. Think back to the guy we mentioned earlier, Marcus. After he found his fuel in that moment of pain, he didn't just tell himself he wanted to learn to speak better. Every single morning, he would stand in front of that same mirror, look himself dead in the eye, and declare, "I am the most confident speaker in this country." He didn't care if he still sounded shaky or if his grammar was a mess. He knew that wasn't his final form. He was speaking to the version of himself he was creating. He said it even when it felt like a total lie. He said it even when he felt like a fraud. But after 30 days, he started to believe it. After 60 days, he began living it. And after 90 days, he had completely transformed. Today, he doesn't need to repeat it anymore, because that is just who he is. Pause right now. Take a deep breath and define your identity. Write down this sentence. I am the kind of person who, for example, I am the kind of person who keeps every promise I make to myself. I am the kind of person who does the hard work before the easy stuff. Put that on your wall. Repeat it every morning. Even when you don't feel like it, say it until it becomes your internal operating system. The secret isn't just to fake it until you make it. It is to fake it until you become it. That is where real change begins. Pick your identity sentence, say it 3 times every morning, and act like it is already your reality. Do this for 30 days straight. No excuses. When your actions finally align with your identity, motivation won't be something you have to hunt for. It will be who you are. Technique 3. Discipline over feelings. You are not always going to feel like it. If you only take action when you are feeling motivated, you are going to lose to the person who shows up regardless of their mood. This is where most people hit a wall. They wake up exhausted and tell themselves, maybe I will do it later. They get home feeling drained and decide, I will start tomorrow. They start a new challenge with high energy, but the moment that excitement fades, they quit. True winners are different. They show up on the worst days. They grind when no one is watching. They keep moving when it is difficult and when they feel like doing absolutely nothing. That is what discipline is. And let me tell you, discipline is infinitely stronger than motivation. Think back to Marcus. Every morning, he had to drag himself out of bed at 5 a.m. to study before the day started. It was the middle of winter. The house was freezing. There was no comfort, just the biting cold and the heavy silence of the early hours. Every single cell in his body was screaming at him to stay in bed, to sleep more, to just take a break. But he didn't listen to those feelings. He remembered the pain of his past failures. He remembered the identity he was building, and he got up anyway. Not because he felt like it, but because he had made a promise to himself. He didn't listen to his mood. He followed his standards. That single decision changed the trajectory of his life. The next time you find yourself saying, I don't feel like working out, or I don't feel like studying, or I just can't bring myself to speak English today, I want you to say this. Good. This is the perfect time to do it, because now I am training my mind to be tougher than my feelings. This is where the real work happens. Not when it is easy, not when it is fun, but when it is hard and you do it anyway. Here is your challenge. Take one thing you have been avoiding and do it right now. Even if you aren't ready, at the end of it, write in your journal, I did it without motivation. I am in control. Repeat this every single day. Every time you push through that resistance, you are building mental muscle. You are teaching your brain that you are the captain of the ship, not your laziness, not your excuses, and certainly not your mood. That is real self-motivation. Technique 4. Repeat one line every day and let it become your reality. Most people start their day by letting their mind run wild. They wake up and immediately start thinking about their stress, their worries, or whatever random thought pops into their head. That is not how you build a powerful life. That is a reactive life. If you want true self-motivation, you have to take the steering wheel of your thoughts the second you open your eyes. The fastest, most effective way to do this is by repeating one command every single day. Just one sentence. It needs to be short, punchy, and emotionally honest. A direct reminder of who you are becoming. Why does this work? Because your brain is wired to listen to repetition. Whatever you tell yourself over and over, your brain eventually accepts as truth. Your mind has something called the reticular activating system, or RAS. Think of it as a filter that decides what you notice and what you ignore. If you constantly tell yourself, "I am lazy," or "I am not good enough," your RAS will hunt for evidence to prove you right. It will say, "See, you didn't finish that task. You are lazy." And just like that, your motivation dies. But if you wake up and reprogram your RAS with a deliberate, strong command, you force your brain to look for solutions instead of excuses. You start seeing opportunities instead of obstacles. Here are a few examples of what your command could be. Pick one that hits home for you. No one is coming. It is all on me. Comfort is my enemy. Progress is my goal. I do hard things every single day. I do not wait for motivation. I act like a machine. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be done. Choose the one that feels real to your situation. Now, here is the process. It is not just about saying words. It is about wiring them into your nervous system. Take 5 minutes right now to pick your line. Write it down on a piece of paper. The moment you wake up, before you even think about checking your phone, sit up, take a deep breath, and say your line out loud 3 times with conviction. Say it again before you tackle your hardest task of the day. Say it one last time before you go to sleep, because your final thoughts are what your subconscious dwells on while you rest. After 7 days, you will notice your motivation becoming automatic. You won't be negotiating with your laziness anymore. You will be overriding it. After 30 days, you will be a completely different person. People around you will ask what changed, and the answer will be simple. I rewired my brain, one sentence at a time. This isn't magic, it is mental engineering, and it works if you do the work. Technique 5. Make it public and burn the bridges. Do you know what has more teeth than willpower? Pressure. Most people struggle to stay motivated because they keep a back door open. They tell themselves, I will try this out, see how it goes, and if it gets too tough, I will just quietly pack it in. No one will know, so there is no harm done. That secret escape route is the single biggest motivation killer. If you want drive that actually sticks, you have to raise the stakes. You have to burn the boats. You need to put yourself in a position where retreating is not an option. Think of it like a commander landing on enemy territory and burning the ships behind him. Now there is no way back home. You either win or you win. That kind of environment forces you to find a level of focus and intensity you never knew you had. In your own life, you need to replicate that same intensity. Start by making a rock-solid commitment. Don't just say you want to improve, be specific. Say, I will practice my English every single morning for the next 90 days, or I will hit my fitness targets by the end of this month. Then make it public. Post it on your social media, tell your circle, or put a massive sign on your wall. When other people know your goal, you create external accountability. Suddenly, your brain realizes that failing silently isn't an option anymore. If you quit now, you lose your credibility. That pressure is exactly what turns a casual hobby into a serious mission. To take it a step further, set a consequence for failure. This is where most people get scared, and that is exactly why it works. Decide on a real, painful penalty if you don't follow through. Maybe you donate money to a cause you disagree with, or you delete your favorite app for a month. When the pain of failing becomes visible and immediate, your brain switches into battle mode. It stops looking for excuses and starts looking for ways to win. Humans are naturally wired to avoid pain, and there is nothing we fear more than public failure. When you step out of the shadows and declare your goals to the world, you stop being a dreamer and start being a warrior. You aren't hiding anymore. You are in the arena. And when you commit to rising instead of running, you unlock a version of yourself that commands respect. Most importantly, your own. Technique 6. Visualize the reward and the regret daily. Let me ask you this. Why do most people throw in the towel on their biggest goals? It is because they cannot visualize the win, and they cannot feel the sting of the loss. Our brains are wired to prioritize what is happening right now, not what might happen a year from today. This is a mental trap that sabotages your potential. You tell yourself, I will hit the gym later, or I will study tomorrow. But because the cost of doing nothing feels invisible, you never feel the urgency. This is where active visualization becomes your secret weapon. I am not talking about sitting around daydreaming about a mansion. I am talking about a 5-minute mental rehearsal where you confront two realities: the reward of winning and the regret of quitting. Do this every morning when you wake up and every night before you sleep. First, visualize the reward. Close your eyes and see the version of you 90 days from now. What does your body look like after months of discipline? How sharp is your mind? How much confidence do you have? Breathe that in. Let your brain feel that success as if it is already real, because your mind cannot easily distinguish between a vivid mental experience and reality. When you feel that reward now, your brain will naturally push you to earn it. Next, you must visualize the regret. Now do the opposite. Imagine what happens if you stay on your current path. Imagine another 90 days passing where you skip the work, choose comfort over growth, and lie to yourself again. What does your future look like then? What happens to your health, your self-respect, and your dreams? Let that pain hit you. Feel the weight of that disappointment. Most people only change when the pain of staying the same becomes too much to bear. By visualizing this regret, you make that pain real today, not later. This keeps you hungry, awake, and moving. Your mind is driven by emotion, not just facts. You already know you should study or work out, but knowing is not enough. You have to feel the stakes. By practicing this daily, you are training your brain to hunt for pleasure and run from the pain of wasting your potential. Create 2 90-second visualizations, one for the win, one for the loss. Do this for 30 days straight. If you commit to this, you stop chasing motivation. Motivation starts chasing you. Technique 7. Give yourself small wins every single day. Do you want to know why most people lose their drive? It is because they grind, they struggle, and they push, but they never see the needle move. When your brain cannot track your progress, it eventually stops caring. That is why so many people drop their goals, not because they are lazy, but because they are starving for a reward they cannot see. This is where tracking small wins changes the game. Your brain runs on a chemical called dopamine, which is essentially your reward system. It tells you, that felt good, do it again. The problem is, if you only reward yourself when you reach a massive goal like total fluency or a complete life transformation, the gap is way too long. Your brain gets bored, loses interest, and quits. But if you break your journey down into tiny daily victories, you feed your brain a steady stream of dopamine, making motivation addictive. A small win is anything that proves you are moving in the right direction. It could be waking up without hitting the snooze button, practicing your English for just 5 minutes, choosing a healthy meal over junk, or simply getting your work done even when you were exhausted. Every single one of these moments is a signal to your brain that you are becoming the person you said you would be. That message is what builds an unshakable core of self-motivation. Here's what I want you to do. Every night before you hit the pillow, Write down 3 answers. First, what did I do today that I am actually proud of? Second, what small win proves I am getting better? And third, what is my plan to win again tomorrow? That is it. It takes 3 minutes, but in 30 days, you will have a record of 90 victories. This journal becomes your undeniable proof that you are not failing, you are not stuck, and you are not a quitter. You are evolving, quietly and powerfully. Motivation is not just a feeling, it is the natural result of progress. When your brain sees the data, it builds belief, and belief creates unstoppable power. Stop letting your wins go unrecorded. If you aren't tracking them, your brain will forget them, and when it forgets, it will start to doubt you. Record every win, let your confidence compound, and watch your fire grow until you don't need anyone else to validate you. You will already know exactly what you are capable of. Technique 8. Feed your mind with power every day. Let me ask you a serious question. What are you actually feeding your brain? Because whatever you consume mentally becomes your mindset, and your mindset dictates your motivation. If you are not intentional about filling your head with clarity, focus, and growth, you are unintentionally filling it with noise, fear, and distraction. The hard truth is that most people are loading up on mental junk food all day long. They spend hours scrolling through social media, watching people complain, argue, or live fake lives. They feed on news that breeds anxiety and follow influencers who sell nothing but drama. Then they wonder why they feel drained, anxious, or unable to focus on their own goals. Think of it like building a world-class physique. If you spent all day eating processed sugar and grease, it wouldn't matter how many hours you spent in the gym, your body would eventually break down. Your mind works the exact same way. If your daily mental diet is packed with nonsense, your focus will erode and your drive will wither away before you even realize it. To become truly self-motivated, you have to protect your headspace like a fortress. First, seek out motivational voices daily. Dedicate 15 minutes to listening to content that demands action. Don't just treat it as background noise. Listen with the intensity of a warrior sharpening a blade. Look for speeches, success psychology, or stories of people who fought through the mud to build something great. You aren't just listening to be entertained. You are tuning your brain to a higher frequency of discipline. Second, commit to educational growth. Spend at least 20 minutes every day learning a skill that actually moves the needle, whether it is a language, finance, or your craft. Growth is the ultimate energy source. When your brain feels itself leveling up, it sends a signal to your body to keep pushing. Finally, practice mental fasting. You must cut out the toxicity. No more mindless scrolling through gossip, no more toxic music that kills your mood, and no more comparison traps. The first hour of your day is the most critical window. If you wake up and immediately check your phone to see what everyone else is doing, you are handing your power away to insecurity. Instead, start your day with purpose. Listen to something powerful, visualize your goals, or review your mission. Don't let the world program you. Build your own mental gym and train your brain to grow every single day. Technique 10. Train at the same time every day. Let me break this down for you. The most driven people on the planet don't rely on their mood to get things done. They rely on a ritual. They don't wait for inspiration to strike. They follow a schedule. Why? Because your brain and your body are creatures of habit. When you perform a task at the exact same time every single day, it stops being a chore and starts becoming an automatic part of your life. This is where most people get it wrong. They confuse motivation with feeling. They tell themselves, I will study when I feel energized, or I will work out after I have had a rest. But guess what? That feeling never comes, and neither does the progress. Look at how you brush your teeth. You don't wake up feeling motivated to scrub your teeth. You just do it. It is a locked-in habit connected to a specific time, not a fleeting emotion. That is exactly how you need to treat your goals. If you want to master a language, pick a time, say 7 a.m., and do it every single morning without fail. If you want to get in shape, set a fixed time for your movement. When you repeat these actions at the same hour, your brain stops debating whether or not to do them. It just expects them to happen. It becomes part of your identity. The more you repeat an action at a fixed time, the stronger the neural pathways in your brain become. Eventually, your mind stops asking, "Do I want to do this?" and instead says, "It is 7 a.m., this is what we do." That is when you become dangerous. That is when you no longer need willpower, just consistency. Choose your 3 most important habits, the ones that actually change your life, and lock them into your calendar. Don't be vague. Don't say morning, say 6:30 a.m. Don't say evening, say 9:15 p.m. Use environmental triggers to help you, like doing your study session right after your morning coffee. Your body will learn these patterns incredibly fast. Stay with it for 21 to 30 days without a single exception. At first, it will feel like a grind, but soon it will feel like breathing. When you stop waiting for the right mood and start relying on the right time, you become unstoppable. This isn't about being perfect. It is about being predictable. And in a world of chaos, predictability is your ultimate power. Technique 11. Track your progress weekly. Let me ask you a tough question. When was the last time you actually audited your own life? I am not talking about checking off a to-do list, but sitting down and being brutally honest about what you won at, what you bombed, and what needs to change. If you aren't doing this, you are flying blind. And when you can't see your own growth, you start to feel stuck. Once that feeling sets in, your motivation doesn't just fade, it collapses. That is why this technique is non-negotiable. It is your weekly mirror of truth. High achievers do something that average people never bother with. They don't just put in the work. They measure, reflect, and pivot. They treat their lives like a startup or a high-stakes project. They look at the data of their week and ask, what actually moved the needle? What was a total waste of time? What am I doing differently on Monday? This process brings you clarity and ownership. Nothing fuels your internal fire like the realization that even if progress is slow, you are still winning. Once a week, I recommend Sunday evening or Monday morning. Set aside 20 minutes to answer these 7 questions. First, what were my 3 biggest wins? Focus on the action, not just the result. Did you stay consistent? Did you sharpen your mindset? Second, what did I struggle with? Be real, no judgment, just awareness. Third, what drained my energy? Was it a person, a bad habit, or just negative self-talk? Fourth, what gave me the most momentum? What activity made me feel powerful? Fifth, did I stick to my time-based rituals? Why or why not? Sixth, what is one lesson I learned from my failures this week? Every mistake is a teacher if you are paying attention. And seventh, what is my one non-negotiable commitment for the next 7 days? Motivation dies in the chaos of an unexamined life. This weekly review gives you the structure and self-respect you need to keep going. When you hold yourself accountable, you stop waiting for external validation or a stroke of luck. You stop relying on other people to push you. You become your own coach, your own leader, and your own harshest critic. Get a dedicated notebook for this. Keep it clean and honest. After 4 weeks, look back at what you have written. You will be shocked by how much you have evolved. That belief in your own process, that is the engine that keeps you moving for a lifetime. When you stare into the accountability mirror every week, you take complete control of your evolution, and that control is the ultimate form of confidence. Technique 12. Have a strong why that makes you cry. There is a force in this world far more potent than mere motivation, deeper than any habit, and tougher than any discipline. That force is your why. I am not talking about a shallow why, like wanting a bit more cash or hoping to look better in the mirror. Those goals are fine, but they won't save you when the storm hits. I am talking about a reason so raw, so personal, and so deeply embedded in your soul that every time you even think about quitting, you feel a tightening in your chest. That is the kind of why that turns a regular person into a force of nature. It is the fuel that keeps you upright when everything else has collapsed. Here is a simple test. Speak your reason out loud. If it doesn't spark any emotion, it is too weak. If you say, "I want to work harder because I want to buy nice things," that is just noise. But if you say, "I want to succeed because I refuse to let my family struggle for another day," or "I want to master my craft because I am tired of being silenced," and I have a message the world needs to hear now, that is real. That is living, breathing power. You know your why is legit when it brings a lump to your throat or a spark to your eyes. Take a pen and get honest with yourself. What is the one thing you never want to experience again? Is it the shame of feeling powerless? Is it the fear of being forgotten? That is your pain trigger, your foundation. Now, who are you doing this for? When you tie your mission to something bigger than your own ego, like your future family, your parents, or the person you were years ago, your motivation becomes selfless and bulletproof. If you don't take action today, what will your life look like in 5 years? Visualize that stagnation and let it hurt. Then flip the script. If you become the absolute best version of yourself, what changes for everyone around you? Combine these answers into one powerful statement. This is your anchor. When the world gets dark and you feel the urge to stop, whisper this to your heart. Carry it with you. Write it on your mirror. This is not just for today. This is for your future. Without a deep why, you will crack under pressure. But with one, you will rise, even when there is no one there to clap for you. You will carry the weight of your dreams with pride because you know exactly why you are fighting. This is not theory. This is the engine behind every life that leaves a mark on this world. Now you know the truth. Self-motivation isn't the gift you find. It is a structure you build. These aren't just tips or theories. These are your weapons for the battlefield of life. Use them. Start today, because if you keep waiting for the perfect moment or a surge of motivation, you will stay stuck in that loop forever. But if you take control of your habits, sharpen your thoughts, own your schedule, and lock in your why, there is no force on earth that can stop you. Your future is watching. Your goals are waiting. And the time for you to act is right now. Whatever happens, don't give up. Don't slow down. Don't lose sight of your why. Stay strong, keep pushing, and go build the version of yourself you were meant to be. If this video helped you find your spark, subscribe for more content that doesn't just motivate you, it helps you transform your life, one step at a time. This is your mission now, and we rise together. Stay strong and subscribe.